3, 2, 1.
Bam!
Yeah.
Tastes like victory.
Hello and welcome. I'm Steve.
And I'm Al.
And I'm Brett.
And this is Fools with Tools, a podcast for the fool on film. For those of you listening in your cars or wherever you listen, we've also put this out on YouTube so you can see our happy, smiling faces. And we'll do some visual treats and other things for those watching on YouTube. But for now, let's crack on with what everyone's been up to. So, Brett, what have you been up to?
I have been forging since I got back, and I've been trying to make more tools, or at least get used to making tools. So I started with a really tiny, itty bitty, hardy tool. There would be basically its most effective use would be dishing like knuckle plating for a gauntlet or something. It's really small, but I got to learn a little bit about the geometry and just kind of swing the hammer again, which ever since we were in the forge with you and wanting to blacksmith even more, of course. Other than that, put the video up of all of us in the forge, which was fantastic because I feel like I got to remember. So it was really, really nice to edit that up, and now we have a visual memory of all of those things.
Yeah, and it was a really, really good video as well. I really enjoyed like looking back on that and being able to see essentially my two workshops from someone else's point of view and from someone that can actually do camera work and video editing and stuff.
Oh, chuff.
But yeah, no, that was really cool. Al, what have you been up to?
I have been trying my best to kickstart my YouTube channel because it's been
doodling, Al.
Sorry. Since it's been a long time since I've been able to get into the Hack Shack, and after Maker Central and Maker Fair and the amazing 2 weeks that we all had, and that we will shut up about at some point.
Not anytime soon.
Brett and Soph actually paid me a visit in the Hack Shack, and we had some fun. We made some things, and we tidied up and organized a little bit, but organized in a way that's still pretty hacky. And it basically meant that I've got a bit more space, and it's a lot easier to get in now. So I had my first time in the Hack Shack this weekend. Super excited about it. And I just managed to get out a little trailer for my channel to hopefully try to kind of get people a little bit more interested and think that I've not disappeared. Because I've been able to kind of keep a presence on Instagram and stuff, which is really
I would say you're coming back strong.
Yeah, Al's back.
Mark strong.
And I'll tell him.
Well done.
Yeah. So Al's back. Al's back, Shack.
Al's back, Shack.
Al's back, Shack.
It's fantastic. Well done, Al.
Yeah, no, it's good to see you back. And like we said in the pre-chat and that, it's a really, really cool video. So yeah, good work on that.
Yeah.
What have I been up to? Seeing as neither.
What have you been up to, Steve?
Hey, Steve, I'm interested in your life and all the things that you're about.
I doubt that. What have I been up to since we last spoke? I've done 2 separate courses. I helped teach or assisted on the axe making course for the first time, which was really, really good. I surprised myself quite a lot with how much I actually know about axe making. And we had 2 students outside and 4 students inside this time round, and it was quite nice. At one point, the guys outside were quite a lot further ahead, and it was just in terms of being able to move the metal. There wasn't any technical stuff behind what they were doing and why the guys inside were behind. So I just got to go along and pick up the sledgehammer and literally go from one anvil to the next anvil to the next anvil to the next anvil, just wailing on these chunks of steel to just get them a bit more shaped, which was
Nice.
yeah, it was good fun. And then this weekend was a knife course, and that was really nice again. Lots of people, well, 6 people coming in for the course, and lots of good times and frolics and all that. And I've been in my workshop a little bit, just doing some bits and bats, just trying to get things sorted out so I can carry on with some bigger projects. And also having had Al try and convince me to quit my job for the last 6 months, and then Alex, sorry,
Real Alex,
big Alex, for the last 6 months. I got you lot all telling me to quit my job for the last 2 weeks, and I've been it's fine. To be fair, it's Jess more than anyone else. So every time I speak to her, just quit your job.
It's great.
Yeah,
exactly. Great.
But yeah,
I'm assuming no one from work listens to the show, Steve.
I really hope not. But yeah, so having had that, me and Al had a bit of a discussion this afternoon regarding both the future of the Forge and what we're doing with it, and my future within it, which was good. There's lots of positive things coming out of that. So it looks like it might actually be a case of me having to quit my job at some point in the near future, which is pretty fucking cool. But yeah, that's it.
Good.
So I don't have a segue, but Al is going to explain to everyone what we're doing because Al knows best. And
this is true.
Because Al is the idea guy, the resident idea guy.
Yeah, exactly.
There will be an Al Knows Best t-shirt at some point. No, it was Al said so, wasn't it? Because then it would just say ass.
Yeah, because Al said so.
Because Al said so.
Because ass.
Right. Al, take us through it.
When the Makers International guys had us on the show a couple of weeks ago,
yep.
There was as always, there was a really good banter in the chat room. And someone raised a really interesting question that was about kind of when you're getting started, how do you go about sort of projecting yourself in this environment? You know, it's social media at one point was all kind of just, you know, it was your name and it was your personality and your person, and you were putting yourself out there. And I think as this goes on and people kind of take it a little bit more seriously, you start to create little personas and identities. And some people even go as far as creating brands or companies, you know, depending on how successful you get. So the question was, how do you start? You know, how does anyone that doesn't really know anything about that kind of thing get into creating a little brand for themselves? I mean, a lot of people get into the sticker swap, which is a really fun way for kind of people to interact with the community and get to know one another. It was something that really helped me, and it helped fill up kind of the wall of awesome really quickly with just these people from around the world. So people often ask, you know, should I have a logo? What do I do? Do I just use my name? Things like that. So I thought we could riff it between the three of us, maybe come up with some idea, create an imaginary brand or an imaginary person, and see how to go about it, and sort of do's and don'ts, and how to hopefully stand out in a growing world of kind of creativity.
Yeah, and awesome. Insider info for those of us listening. Al currently, if no one knows about it, Al is currently working as an art director, right? Like branding manager, doing all kinds of stuff, working with clients and helping with the visuals of them. So Al is super deep in that right now and very talented at it. I have a background in it. I was an art director for my old company and did a lot of rebrand and stuff like that. And Steve hasn't done shit. So this should be great.
Yeah. But Steve does have a very good brand. So he's doing something right.
Steve's brand is fantastic. And I think you have like you may not have worked in it, but you got the brains for it, son.
Oh, thanks, mate.
Yeah, boy.
I like pretty things.
Oh.
So I thought what we could do is, Steve, I'd like you to kick us off, and we can think of a maker, okay? And the idea being that this maker's just getting started. He/she has their own talents and skills and ability. Or they could just be an absolute car crash like me. But the idea being that they've got an idea of what they want to do and what they want to make. but they don't know how to protect themselves. So,
Yeah.
first of all, I'd like you to think of what this person does, what their skill set is, what they make.
I am going to say, if we're wanting it to be people that are going to stand out, why don't we pick an area that's already, I don't want to say saturated like it's a bad thing, but there's already a lot of people in it. So why don't we say he's doing woodwork, but with mostly reclaimed materials.
Did he used to be in a band?
Does he talk about being in a band a lot? No, he was not ever in a band.
Okay. So woodworker.
Yeah. So woodworker.
The reclaimed arena.
Yeah.
Brett, what's he called?
The wood talker. No.
Does he have just a name? Does he even have an identity yet?
His name.
So yeah, are we coming up with a name?
His name is Jeremy Ash.
Oh, it's like it was meant to be. Oh, I like it. I can see it already.
Yeah.
Right. Okay, so woodworker, reclaimed stuff.
I love that we're having Al do this live, which the reason we're even showing this off right now is this is typically what you would want to do is not get too in your head about it, right? Idea dump on a page.
Exactly.
Get everything out there, because everything that I learned in school about branding and how to come up with kind of a marketing spin on yourself is when you first sit down, no editing. You're not allowed to edit yourself. You throw everything out on a page, and then you're able to take everything knowing that you've got it out there. Then you get to choose from all of your things, right? If you get too in your head about it, you tend to forget, or you double up on things, or you get stuck on an idea, right? Because it happens to be at the front of your brain. So what Al is doing and what we're going to show off here is a little bit more like as it happens. Oh man, I feel kind of bad for the listeners, but we'll try to talk through it as much as we can.
That's what Ash looks like, right, Steve?
I'm just going to change it so that you're presenting so I can see. Yes.
Right. So, Steve, where does Jeremy Ash hail from?
Hull.
Oh, is he from Hull?
No,
he's from Hull.
I don't know.
All right.
It would have to be English Ash at that point.
Yeah. So he's from the northeast of England in Hull.
Right, okay. Can we explain that to the listeners at home who have no idea about the northeast of England?
It's horrible and full of horrible people.
Okay.
Okay. It's a little biased, but
it's where I am right now. In case that joke didn't get across.
Okay, fair enough.
It's grim as fuck.
It's grim as fuck.
There you go.
Okay, so there's a kind of a hardy, irony, kind of stony face to Jeremy Ash. He's got he's weathered.
Yeah.
He's weathered.
Proper Yorkshire.
Is he a young guy, old guy, family guy, single guy? I want to know more about Jeremy. Before we get
look, hold on. I have to jump onto something, because this is why it works so well to talk between a couple of people. You said he's kind of right. So there is this idea that's popping out in my head right now that maybe he doesn't go by Jeremy Ash or Ash Woodworking. It's like weathered wood, or
nice.
Something with alliteration in it. He does reclaim stuff, so it's weathered wood.
But surely, if his surname is Ash and he's doing reclaim stuff, it's got to be something like From the Ashes.
Oh, Steve, out the park.
Like, how is that not the first thing that came to your head?
Well, because I've been doing this longer than you, and remember what I always talk about with the approach of bringing naivety to the table, or you get a little bit too in your rabbit holes of thinking, so you threw in a nice little curveball in there, because I wasn't thinking about that.
Cool. I like it.
Golf clap for Steve. That was fantastic.
Right. We're getting somewhere. Okay, so is he doing this full time, or does he have a job?
No, it's a side hustle.
No, I'm asking a lot of questions about the person and not about woodworking.
Yeah because it's more about,
it's almost like
you
you're
are.
trying to
No, but I think this is important, because especially when guys and girls get started out, they kind of, the default idea is that you want to communicate the thing that you're doing. So
Yes.
I'm a knitter. If I want a little logo for my brand, it's going to be a ball of wool and some knitting needles, so everybody knows that I do knitting.
Yeah,
which is great. And you see this every day with big brands. You know, you see people. You want to sell a bag of potato crisps, you put potato crisps on the front of the bag, so people know what it is in the shop. You know, but the more interesting brands and the people with real sort of fun stories to tell, actually be a bit more brave, and they go, you know what? They know that I'm a woodworker, so I actually don't need to have a table saw or blade in my identity, which is nothing wrong with. You know, it gets you to where you want to be really quickly. But I think if you want to tell people a story about yourself more than what you do, this is how we go about it.
Yeah, because to kind of go on from that, like one of the things that I would say is if you're creating a brand or something, people are going to find you either because a friend has said, oh, I need someone to do some woodwork for me. Who can you recommend? And they're going to give a card, or it's because you meet someone in real life and you say, oh, I'm a woodworker, here's my card. Yeah. Or because you go onto Google and you type local woodworker into Google and all the results are going to come back as woodworkers.
Yeah.
Al, I feel like this is a good segue moment. Do you want to bring up what it means to search for a local woodworker, or at least woodworking brands?
Yes, I think that's a really good shout. So,
oh, very clever. I see what you're doing there.
Yeah, Steve sees what I'm doing. I'll talk that through in a minute. Okay. So,
for those listening, we're currently typing woodworking logos into Google. Just to
Google. So, hey, Al's Woodwork, brilliant. Top of the line.
Amazing.
So we've got
holy crap! Like literally, the first 6 results are have planes in them.
Yeah. So that says it all. Basically, if your default go-to would be, I'm a hand tool woodworker. I put a hand plane on. Everyone knows that's what I do. Yeah. Put some nails on it. You know, don't use nails because I'm a woodworker and I know how to do woodworking. But nails is just like a shortcut for everyone to understand that I'm joining 2 bits of wood together. Or you show wood. So basically, we've got a screen here of logos. Most of them are black and white. Most of them are very traditional looking. Most of them show pictures of wood in one form or another, or some form of hand tools. You get the odd saw blade thrown in for good measure. What's nice about a saw blade is it's round, which gives a really nice holding device for your identity. But, you know, beyond that, I'm not really getting excited about many of these. I can go down a little bit. We can have a little bit of a look. Oh, there's Steve Ramsey's. Oh, there's the Wood Whisperer. Oh, nice.
Hey, there you go.
So the further we down, we start to get some actually well-known woodworking brands. But it's all a much of a muchness. So
Wankles?
Yeah,
Wankles hardware. Brilliant.
So if you...
I have to say the one that is the it's a tree, but the leaves of it are the wood grain pattern. The one that says Wooden Company. Very unique little approach.
Nice.
Anyway, so
the point of this exercise, basically, none of these stand out.
Right.
Yeah.
It's not a problem.
Yes. But Al and I have talked about this in pre-shows and kind of off camera, but when we were discussing this and showing this little bit off on a Google search, the reason I do this is because I had a teacher in college that when we were working on branding and logo identity, it was, right, do 50 different logo approaches and then bring them in tomorrow. And then everybody brings them in, and then he takes all of them and goes, great, throw those away. Because those are the first ideas that everybody comes up with. So now the easy way to do that is go to Google, do a Google image search for, like we did, woodworking logo, and then whatever you see on the first 100 results, just don't do that.
Yeah. Really good point. Really good exercise. And it's not always about standing out, right? Like if you're a local woodworker and you're kind of catering to your local community and you just want people to know what you do, there's absolutely no problem with designing your identity around really clearly communicating. You know, say you've got a van, and on the side of that van, and it drives past, in 1 second, somebody's got to understand what you do. Yeah. Absolutely no harm in this. We thought what would be interesting to talk about is especially in the social media game, you know, you've got these tiny little icons on the side of screens, and you've got thumbnails calling for your attention all the time. What are you going to do to make you stand out? If any of you guys know my brand, you know that the whole purpose behind the Hack Shack is that I wanted it to be something completely different than from your regular kind of maker. It's not about a how-to. It's not about come and look at the great things I've made. It's about having fun and being messy. So that's exactly what my identity is. It also kind of looks a little bit like me, so it's kind of capturing my personality. And it's bright green because basically I did a quick search of a lot of maker channels, and there wasn't that many that were green. I know Jacko's got a really vibrant identity. Also actually happens to have eyes on it. Another interesting thing about eyes is that humans want to interact with things when they see eyes. It's written into, it's like hardwired into our nature. So if you see a poster with a face on or anything like that, there's something about you want to connect with it just because it has a face. So by all means, you know, we could stick a face on this and just go, yeah, this is me. I'm laying myself out there. Here's my face. Do you like me or not? Do I have an interesting face? Do I have a fun face? You know, am I quirky? Do I have a big bushy beard? You know,
yeah. If he's got a big bushy beard, maybe the beard is a circular saw. So you're half in that dynamic of playing with things that do work and people have used before. But sorry, again, that's just kind of off the top of my head. But you're like, I want my face. I want my face to be known. But then
I want my face.
Your beard is a circular saw.
I mean, we met we met the lovely Blackbeard at Maker Central.
Yes.
Yeah. He's got a magnificent beard, and his branding is like a big beard, right?
Yeah, it's his silhouette, the big old bushy beard.
Big old bushy beard. So that's great, and it reflects his personality, and it reflects him as this kind of Viking, kind of, you know, pirate guy who makes things. But unfortunately, you know, there's a lot of guys with beards with beards in this community. So I struggle.
Speak for yourself.
Yeah, sorry, Brett. Yeah. Yours is you've got a beard, you just can't see it.
Oh, shut up.
So even a story like that, you know, I have, you know, dozens of makers on my list whose logos are beards. So already there's kind of a challenge as to actually what that guy's story is. Like, I know his story is he's amazing at making things. So it's enough, you know, he's doing really well for himself. So this was more aimed at kind of the little guy, or somebody maybe getting started, and how to basically stand out in this sea of creativity. Perfect. So we know that you shouldn't necessarily fall for the lowest common denominator, and we're starting to learn a little bit about Jeremy himself. So
Jeremy, Mr. Ash.
So what I'd like to do at this stage is kind of get a little story going. So
Steve,
there's a guy called Blacksmith Andy who helped me out.
Hey.
I did him a few stickers because he was asking the same question. The same thing came up.
Yeah.
And he told me a really great story about a little robin that came into the forge and sat on the anvil. You know,
oh my God,
straight away, it wasn't about hitting metal. It wasn't about the usual sparks and, you know, leather aprons and this kind of sort of cliche blacksmith story. All of a sudden there was this fantastic conflict between something really gentle and quintessentially, you know, European and quaint and storytelling with this big lump of iron. And it was a really nice balance, and getting that balance is really interesting as well. So Steve, I want you to give us a little nugget, a little gem of a story that Jeremy could tell when he's kind of introducing himself.
All right, Jeremy.
Nothing like putting me on the spot. Fuck.
Well, Jeremy walks into the forge and he's like, I'm a woodworker, but I really wanted to take this class. Steve, let me tell you a little bit about myself. What do you get out of Jeremy?
What do you get?
What do you
buy?
I can't think of anything.
What do they make cricket? Sorry, what do they make cricket bats out of?
Ash.
Oh
no, willow.
Is it
Leather
willow?
on willow.
Oh, right. I don't mind.
Yeah. So he, like, I'm gonna kind of play on the fact that, again, this is what a lot of people do. He, like we said, he's not his full-time job isn't woodworking. It's just kind of a side hustle for him, and he got into it because he has a son and a daughter, and he wanted to kind of get them he wanted something that he could do with them and something that he could teach them. That's not just sitting in the house talking about something. It's actually going out and physically doing something. So he wanted a way that he could interact with his kids that would go from a very young age, where they're literally just, banging 2 bits of wood together, all the way through until he hopes that when he's retired and they're in their 40s, they're still going to be able to have like sessions in the shop together.
Nice.
So he wanted something that's going to like tie together their childhood all the way through to.
Love it. I'm loving this guy already.
I like Jeremy. He's a good guy.
Does he have a day job?
Yeah.
What does he do?
He is a
shrubber.
He works for the electricity company doing high voltage lines.
Oh,
I like
perfect.
it.
Now we're describing my brother-in-law.
Oh, really? See, that bit, I'm not going to lie, was directly taken from Tim from Turgworks, because
Oh, okay.
he works in high voltage. So
No, I have a niece and a nephew, and he has a detached barn and what's that? Okay, so anyway, keep going.
That's amazing.
Yep. Anyway,
Cool. So he works with high voltage.
Nice.
He's a linesman sort of thing.
perfect. So lightning bolt, woodworker, electricity, kids.
I mean,
put it all
Tim-
together
Tim-
now.
we can riff this together. This is easy. This is like taking candy from a baby.
Oh,
I mean, Tim actually from Turgworks is a really interesting one, Steve, because his sort of little presence online is just a little green tea.
Yeah.
And
But it really stands out.
It really stands out. It's really graphics, really simple, really modern. And there's a bit of intrigue in there because I don't know what Turgworks means. I don't know what Turg is. I don't know where that came from.
Yeah.
So already there's a bit of mystique in there. So even like an interesting name. So I met, is it Rob from Prickly Sauce?
Yes.
Yes.
At Maker Central. Now, I didn't recognize his face because in his videos you don't see a lot of his face.
Yeah.
So you see him making stuff, and he makes amazing things, and he's really creative.
Yeah.
And he's great with electronics and stuff. But even the name Prickly Sauce is just this weird sort of mad eclectic name that you're not really, is it a cooking channel? What is it that he does?
Yeah.
So it doesn't, you can be a little bit wacky with what you're doing if you want to have a personality come across. And I think you find a lot of people doing things like that. You could also have a really interesting name. So the guys on the Maybe podcast actually were talking about something, a similar topic last week about I think Izzy's channel used to be called something like Imagine Woodworks or something like that.
Yeah.
And his designer friend was just like, dude, why the fuck are you not just using your name?
Yeah.
Yeah. You've got an amazing name. And I guess same with Jimmy, like DeResta is quite a unique sort of, it's an enjoyable word to say, like he's going to stand out with that name. I certainly had never heard of anyone called DeResta until Jimmy. So, you can be abstract and, what you're going to do that's going to help that little hook and that little bit of intrigue.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah, no,
So-
definitely.
Let's build a little bit more about Jeremy. We've got Al's idea for a little inspirational board.
So I'm
where
getting
do you step from here.
right. So he's an electrician. He's a father of 2, right? He's called. Are we going with From the Ashes? Placeholder name for now.
Placeholder.
Yeah, let's go with that.
Right. Like you could have.
Steve's got an idea.
Steve's got an idea. See, this is how it works.
So I was just thinking, if you've got From the Ashes, you could have like 2 lightning bolts coming in from either side that represent his son and his daughter.
Yeah.
And those lightning bolts are what's creating the ashes. So you have like a little smoldering pile of something underneath those lightning bolts. Do you know what I mean? So you got them coming in.
It sounds amazing. It sounds like a sports team.
Yeah.
Hey, well, Ox in the shop. I had a chat with him at Maker Central, and I go, "Oh man, I know that logo from a mile away," because he was wearing his own shirt. And I go, to be honest, man, when I first saw that, I thought it was like a sports team or like a college team. And he goes, "Oh, the guy that designed my logo designs high school and college basketball
There
teams
you
or
go.
something like that. And I was like, oh, that makes tons of sense.
Yeah.
Because there is a style that's it's very apparent. I would say. I don't know. Like people try and deviate and go more modern or maybe a little bit more old school. My university's had the same logo of a bird, this blue and red bird for years and years and years. And then sometimes you get the cleaner ones, you know, but they always kind of have this sports logo look to them. So when
super
I'm at
modern, super graphic.
Yeah. Bright colors.
Yeah.
Minimal color palette, you know, because you want to be able to make a jersey and not have it be 15 different colors. You're like, our school colors are green and red. Great. So everything is green and red.
Yeah.
Uh-oh. Al's drawing a phoenix?
Yeah.
Because of course, if you're talking about From the Ashes, the story of the phoenix is, you know, that it dies and is reborn from the ashes. We've all watched Harry Potter.
Yeah. I mean, it's not necessarily like, it's not necessarily the way to go. I'm just trying to get in a bit of drama into this. And I think, you know, I love animals. But getting in a character is also an interesting way to kind of make a connection with people, because all of a sudden it's not just about the tools or the thing that you do. There's something else in there that's interesting. That's why brands have brand icons and things like that.
Yeah, like Scully.
A lot like Scully, yeah.
You know,
but yeah, I sorry, go on, Brett.
Basically, we're drawing Pokemon. So we've got
Al's drawing Pokemon.
We've got electricity. We've got fire. We've got wood type.
You're doing the three from the one. You're doing Ash. 3 ancient birds. Okay, yeah, Ash Ketchum.
Yeah,
right.
So you could totally play on that as well.
But hang on, Brett. Whoa! A little bit of a gem there. I heard something. I heard a little nugget of interest there. So you mentioned something about ancient.
Yes.
Right. So here we could get something really interesting going on. Here we could get a style and an aesthetic. So like, you know, ancient Greek, ancient Roman. You know, what's the mythology behind this dude?
Ooh, Jeremy Ash, the myth, the man, the myth, the legend, the father.
I mean, he's no Joanne, but there's definitely an intrigue to him now. I'm starting to see him as a little bit more of a larger than life character.
Yeah.
Okay.
He's got a beard like John.
Okay. Oh yeah. What does he look like? What does Jeremy Ash look like?
He looks like John D. Harvey.
Oh my god.
Oh god.
He looks like John D. Harvey as like a 35 or 40-year-old man. Yeah.
I think like 35, like early 30s is a good age. Looks like John.
I love it. But he's got
shall I just
absolute silver white hair because of the ash? Like he's from the ashes.
No, he's been electrocuted once in his life, and that's what changed everything around. Right? He works his job. He works his job as a power lineman. He horrible event happens or something, but he survives it and realizes that he wants to do something with his kids, and he wants to make sure he leaves some type of legacy. And he has a new approach to life of like, I will continue to do this job because it makes me good money and it provides for my children, but I also care a lot more about what I do with my free time. He's gotten electrocuted once, turned all of his hair white, and now here we are. This guy is amazing.
For those listening and people that don't know John, who is a huge part of the Fools and Tools community, just to say what he looks like, he looks like a cross between like the dwarf from Lord of the Rings and Santa. Like, I've never wanted to hug any single man more than I want to hug John. He just looks amazing.
He's Gimli claws.
Ponytail.
Also, he moves steel really well. So, all right, let's keep this ball rolling, because somehow I got a weird, lightning bolt struck me. It has struck my brain, and now I'm picturing this guy. Oh my god, Al's drawing. Al's drawing our 30 some odd year old ponytailed bearded man.
So he's like he's muscly, right? He's
glasses.
Yeah.
Oh, he's a proper man.
Man.
So where do we go from here? So we've got the legend that is Jeremy Ash. We have From the Ashes. I love the idea of From the Ashes as as a tagline, or it could be the brand. We're still kind of holding on to it as a placeholder right now. But Steve, that story, you know, created out of him being struck by lightning or whatever. It's like he was reborn, right? Like he could have died in that, and he totally didn't. So now this guy is risen. What's the idea going forward?
I've got something brewing. Go on, Steve.
I've just suddenly thought, why, if we're not going to stick with, or if we're going to use From the Ashes as some kind of tagline, why not High Voltage Woodworks or something like that?
Oh my God.
Right.
Oh my God, this is good.
So,
good.
Here we go. Bear with me, right?
Right. Bear with Al
so-
for a second. We'll try and kind of narrate what's going on here.
Yeah.
Al's having a sketch.
Draw some lines. Draw some more lines. Still drawing lines. What the?
Oh,
fuck is
are
that?
you doing a tree breaking in half because of a bolt of lightning?
I love you.
Yes.
My brain was right there with you, Al. That is fantastic. Oh my gosh. Yay.
Wait,
You know what? It makes
does the tree look like a phoenix in silhouette?
Oh my God. This is so multifaceted.
Okay,
Like,
so
what
here's my favorite thing. Okay, I have to take a step back. I ask everybody to take a step back. We're not editing right now, right? Because we're still in idea dump mode. But
Yeah.
when you're doing this for yourself, the worst thing that you can do is, or at least in from my perspective, the worst thing you can do is make 500 things in one image, right? Like you have to pick your directions. It's the same thing that happens with like tattoo artist friends that I have. I chat with them. And it, you know, when you're trying to put a singular image to mean something or be a statement, it's the same thing in branding and logo design.
Yeah.
It's great that you want a picture of an owl, but also a stopwatch and then a grandfather clock, and then also a tree, and then also some berries, and then maybe a horse in the background. Like there's too much going on.
Yeah.
Yes, it's all very meaningful, but how can we parse that down into something that's more directed and you know, fill your arm up with all those different images, but don't try and make it one piece. Don't try and make it one tattoo. So,
very good point, Brett.
The idea that this could look like silhouetted, it could look like a phoenix as well, with the root system going down as being
it's just a happy
feathers.
happy accident.
Yeah, sorry. That's what I was going to say, is just as you were talking, Brett, is like one of the things that I've learned from you guys and from others as well is, if you're going to make a logo, you want to make that logo instantly recognizable, even when it's a tiny little like circular dot on YouTube in the comments or something. It needs to be, whether it's tiny or huge, you need to be able to recognize it, just because otherwise it's too easy to get things lost.
So,
right,
I'm going to put that to task. And we'll go back to our little image search.
Just opening up tabs and putting in split tree logo.
Split tree logo.
Right.
So we're just kind of looking up what else exists out there. You know, you don't necessarily want to spend 4 hours drawing a logo only to realize that it's exactly what somebody else has already created.
Which happens.
I was going to say that the one where it's the tree is black and the root system's white. If that didn't already exist, I was going to say that it would be really good to do that, but with the root system being lightning bolts.
So what Steve's describing is kind of a tree overground and a root system underground, and it's the Norse symbol for the universe.
Yeah,
basically that's like where all the 9 realms are in Norse mythology. So you basically have the tree above and the roots below. It's a classic icon. I think it's a little bit complicated for what we want. I think you made a really good point, Steve. This wants to be visible in a really small thumbnail, a really small icon.
Well, so, and I love that we have. There's basically 3. I love that we've kind of gotten to this organically, but we basically have 3 approaches, right? The From the Ashes, which I think is a great tagline or a great idea behind the logo, is a phoenix, right? Reborn from the ashes, whatever. So you have the bird. You also have high voltage. If this is going to be called High Voltage Woodworks or High Voltage Woodworking, the split tree with the lightning bolt in the middle of it or whatever is another one. But then I'm also thinking about even simplifying it further to make it more readily, I don't know, readily describe what you're looking at. But if you did have a log, with the grain pattern going up and down, instead of having this big split tree where there's branches and leaves and stuff all over the place, could you just have either a log or a tree, but a very simple silhouette with just the lightning bolt cracked down the middle? So it just looks like cracked wood, but it makes a lightning bolt.
See, I like the idea of a log.
Yeah.
Yes.
No, hang on. Right, let's be true to Jeremy. Let's be true to the story.
Okay, yeah. So Jeremy doesn't do a log. He doesn't split logs.
He does reclaimed.
So
how do we tell this? How do we tell this story without trees? Because he's not splitting trees in half.
No, this is very true. Pallets?
Nope.
Been there, done that.
Nope. Here's what it is. I may have just gotten the idea. So I know for a fact that my brother-in-law, who is a power lineman, that's the thing that's freaking me out the most about this story. They have to replace the poles all the time.
Yeah.
Oh, it's a fucking a power pole.
Yeah.
So it has the wiring stuff at the top. Maybe not the entire transformer, but just the old school power lines that had the little antlers sticking out from the side. That's a piece of wood. It tells a little bit about his story. Al's looking up photos maybe right now. I don't know. I'm showing off your drawing right now, but you're doing a quick sketch of a power line.
This is what British ones look like. I don't know if it's the same in the States.
Relatively similar. I think there's a couple of different approaches.
Or you could have the ones where they kind of they have the big coils on where they hang down, which is maybe a little bit more iconic actually. The ones that are like wee.
Oh yeah.
That's really cool. Just while I was drawing this up, one of the things I was going to ask you guys is when you were saying about obviously you wanting to make it iconic and all that. If we were to use the idea of from the ashes, either as a tagline or as a name, would you be able to have so your logo is whatever it is, whether it's the split tree or the power lines or whatever, because having the phoenix in it might be a little bit overly complicated for a logo.
You know what? I think the phoenix is throwing us off, don't you?
Yeah. No, all I was going to say is, like, if you wanted to stick with the from the ashes thing, and you had an idea for a logo, but it was too complicated, but it was still quite a cool character, like a cool idea, but you didn't necessarily go.
Yeah.
Could you then have that, say, on your website or in your larger social media as a mascot or as a so you like say for example on your stickers.
Yeah. Okay. So
being the man with the with the mascot.
Yeah. Yeah. So when it comes to building out your branding, because this is a much longer. This is probably a full podcast worth of other stuff to marketing and branding, and then building out your brand and your aesthetic. You really have to focus on not dividing yourself, right? You don't want to have, well, I have high voltage woodworks, but then there's this Phoenix that is also an aspect of my brand, but then there's also my kids, and then there's also lightning bolts, and then there's also right? Yeah. When it gets that varied, it's the same thing about just creating the logo to begin with, but you have to dump it all out, put it all out on the table, and then look at what works with it, right? What ends up being the silver thread running through every single aspect of it. So the idea that it is from the ashes adheres to the reclaimed aspect of it, right?
Yes.
It adheres to the fact that let's say that at the end of the day, Jeremy Ash, his heart stopped for 5 minutes after he got struck by lightning, right? So he was dead and then rose. And so this whole idea of like rising from the ashes and the Phoenix and stuff reborn, I love that it's this like legend of a human, but end of the day, we've basically come up with now we're down to 2. Now we're down to 2 ideas, right? We have the Phoenix and the Ashes thing, which I love the tagline, and we have high voltage. So where do those 2 things entwine or intertwine? Al, you got anything for this?
Yeah. So for me, the Phoenix is a slightly different story. So
Right,
we've got a story about electricity, and the Phoenix is obviously about fire. Like, I know those 2 could be related, you could argue, but I would say we just be bold here. So this would be the stage where you've got 2 ideas on the table, yeah, and you go, which one is the one that kind of you feel resonates the most with you? So if Jeremy was in the room, he'd be like, dude, right, we've got 2 ideas. One is about fire, one is about ashes, one is about the Phoenix, reborn, repurposing, reclaimed. You know, is that what you're passionate about? Or is it about electricity? Is it about the story of you as a father and a man and somebody that's been doing this thing your entire life and has a woodworking like hobby on the side? So I'd go, right, make a decision.
Yeah.
Steve, you're Jeremy. Which direction do you want to go?
And I'm Jeremy.
And I'm Jeremy.
But one of the other questions I was going to ask is, like, for you guys, how would it factor in? Because obviously, each brand, each name has certain connotations with it that you might perhaps not think about when you're just spitballing names. Like, if I was to see something called From the Ashes Woodwork or From the Ashes whatever, that instantly to me feels a bit more kind of traditional, maybe a bit hand tooly, a bit more, I don't want to say refined, but like I guess traditional is probably the best word that I can come up with, whereas high voltage sounds a bit more modern, a bit more in your face, a bit more kind of not necessarily punk rock attitude, but just kind of it's there. It's like, let's just get this done. Let's build something. Let's build the biggest, maddest thing we can, and kind of a bit more extreme in that sort of sense. So,
well, even to that point, Steve, actually, that's a really good point. So high voltage, actually, does this guy work with hand tools?
Yeah.
Does high voltage woodwork take you to a place of table saws and, you know, massive wide bed sanders?
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, that's the thing. Is,
and you have to be willing to have this discussion with yourself, because Steve, I totally agree. I love that you've gotten it down to this little debate, right? In my mind, I totally agree with you. I think From the Ashes, ashes created from wood, typically, or like the way that we think about it is that you burn wood, you get ash, born from the ashes, right? Yeah. High voltage is definitely more about the story of Jeremy, or him as a person, or the reborn aspect of him being electrocuted or whatever, being this power lineman, also a hobby woodworker. You definitely wouldn't get recognized as a woodworker instantly, but the idea of high voltage woodworking creates a question in my mind. Yeah. So if your approach is to get people to go, what the hell does high voltage woodworking mean? You can have that discussion then, and then tell people about yourself. I go, well, it was born from this, versus you go From the Ashes Woodworking. I don't feel like anyone at any point is ever going to go, I don't understand your name. Can you explain it to me?
Yeah, exactly.
So that's back to the kind of the conversation right at the beginning. So is this guy wanting to stand out and offer something unique, or is he just wanting people to know what he does?
Yeah. And that's the thing, is I think in my mind, this Jeremy guy isn't someone that's using hand tools and taking 20 hours to make a single bench sort of thing. He's going into his shed with a circular saw and a jigsaw and a load of power tools and making a load of noise, but doing it in a way that he's using the reclaimed stuff, but he's going at it. He's having fun. I don't want to say he's having to do it to make money, but he wants to make money from this hobby. He doesn't want it to just be like spending, let's say, like 20 hours making a bench just to give it to a friend of the family. Like he wants to make stuff and then sell it. So he's wanting to use power tools and get things done quickly and efficiently and yeah. So yeah, in my mind, I think high voltage.
Right, that's actually a really, really good point, Steve. So you're talking about what he does and why he does it. I'd be interested in kind of his style. So what kind of things is he making? If it's like your kind of refined Renaissance woodworker, beautiful hand tool stuff, this could go down a very different path. So, but if it's like you kind of slap together rough and ready, raw, really bold, really masculine stuff, I'm starting to get that idea of kind of the look and feel for this.
Yeah, definitely. And I think if we're going to stick with the idea that this is
are we just designing Tim a fucking new brand?
I think we might be.
I think we're designing my brother-in-law brand if he ever gets it.
But yeah, I mean, like in my mind, like I am thinking of like the atypical guy from the northeast of England that's a bit manly, looks after his family, wants to make money to help his family out, and like the high voltage thing just it's winning out for me for the image of this guy that I've got in my head.
You know what, I have to agree as well, because I am now stuck on the idea that I said a minute ago, which is it's more unique.
Yeah.
So you want to talk about standing out? This is high voltage is a brand 100% about Jeremy in my mind.
Yeah.
People will ask, what does high voltage woodworking mean? Because those two words or terms don't typically go together, right?
Oh, and Brian Johnson's from the Northeast as well.
Oh, I thought you had a good idea. You're just referencing people. Great.
Fucking hell.
It's an AC/DC song. This is perfect. He fucking loves AC/DC. That's going down. He loves AC/DC. Perfect.
Oh yeah, and he also loves AC/DC. Wait, does his brand just like HVW or whatever, like AC/DC, but you somehow use those letters to create
JAHV?
What? No, we're not branding somebody else that we already know.
No, I just said JA is in Jeremy Ash, HV is in high voltage.
Oh,
is in AC/DC.
That's pretty good.
Right, so we've got an idea about this guy now. So he's got a love for kind of the reclaiming. He's from the north of England. He's very proud of that. He's down to earth. He's humble. He's a family man. He loves a bit of AC/DC. He's got a great big bushy beard and silver hair. But he's got an attitude as well. So I think that's really important. You know, this isn't a twee little woodworking shop where he's churning out beautiful kind of polished pieces. This is rough and ready, raw around the edges, and he likes red meat.
Yeah,
I kind of would have loved to go with the Phoenix, just because it's a powerful image and a powerful kind of mythical beast. But I think it's taking the story to a totally different place.
Yeah,
definitely. It doesn't feel like this guy with chips and gravy in the north. It feels like this mythical thing in a totally different place. So I think we made the right decision. I think it was a good call to go with high voltage and tell a true story about himself as opposed to kind of aspiring to be something totally different.
There you go.
Yeah, no, definitely. But yeah, no, I do think this guy sounds super, super cool. You could almost say that he was going to be spiffing.
People that we think that are spiffing.
Cool. So we are going to do our spiffing people now. And Al is going to go first. Aren't you, Al?
Yes. So I think while we're on the subject of kind of really good branding for people and really good identities and people that are doing something different in this community, I think one that really stands out for me is Ben and Heidi over at Slap Stuff Together. When I first saw their channel, I kind of fell in love with their content straight away, and they sent me a t-shirt. Didn't ask for one. They just like, I think it was as soon as I put them on the wall of awesome, they're like, oh yeah, we'll send you a t-shirt. Nice. And it was handmade. which sums it up in a nutshell. Because basically their identity is a hand, and it looks like it's been slapped together. It's really just humble and honest. And if you ever watch their channel and see the stuff that they make, that's what they do. Sort of craft, really hands-on, and it's just genius. It's really super simple, red and white, no nonsense. You don't even need the wording. You just, I can see that red hand, the white hand on the red anywhere, and I know who it is straight away.
Yeah, definitely. I completely agree.
Perfect.
Cool.
Steve.
You remembered. Mine is actually someone that was on the course today. Not a maker. He is a wine merchant he has a wine shop in Bath, which is just up the road from me, and that is Wolf Wine. Reason I'm picking him is because we're talking about branding and that. His branding, which Al is just about to bring up on screen.
Ta-da!
There we go. His branding is, for me, it's brilliant because it's quite simple. I mean, those of you that can't see it at the moment, it's like a line drawing of a wolf, and because it is just a wolf's head, you can add other. How cool is that T-shirt?
Oh, and he's all like got juicy bits of wine coming out of his mouth. That's amazing.
Yeah, I like that they've just stuck to the purple eyes on everything too.
Yeah. So that's the thing, is the color palette is basically black and white and purple. Purple obviously being the color of grapes. No,
it's not. No, it's not, Steve. You're supposed to say something about that, Al.
But like in a cartoon style, that's what color grapes normally are. And it's really nice, really simple, but it's also got nothing to do with wine. Like when you think about it, it's like saying high voltage woodworks. Like Wolf Wine doesn't really seem to fit together, but it works really well. It's got alliteration in it, which everyone knows. I love a bit of alliteration, and
I love a bit of alliteration.
It's great because it adds a bit of intrigue. It's a bit more modern, a bit more interesting. It's a bit hipster, but it's not just Taylor and Sons wine merchants. It's Wolf Wine. It's something that you feel I feel like I could go in there and talk about wine and ask them questions without feeling like I was going to get looked down upon, sort of thing. So I think it's absolutely perfect for their business. It's a really good example of using branding and naming well.
I think the color aspect that you just brought up, Steve, we didn't really touch on it that much, but that's super important. So Brett, you mentioned throughout the entire Instagram feed, there's this thread of purple, and it's just constant reminder of that's what the brand is. Like, I've never seen colors like that, but I design wine bottles for a living, and I've never seen that kind of color palette before, and it's fantastic. And I think that's something that's guys in the community do really well. So you see orange, it's going to be Bob. There's a really kind of powerful use of color, especially if it's just about little hints of it around the shop or little things, what color are your t-shirts, what color are your tools, and things like that. So that's a really good shout out. This is awesome. This is getting me super excited.
Brilliant. Well, when you guys come down, we'll have to go up and visit him.
Nice.
When we come down, we'll go up. Got it. Sorry.
Awesome.
All right,
Brett.
My turn. And this is a little self-serving while also just tipping the hat in the direction of the guy who needs it. But Al,
yay!
Brandon, your logo, your approach, it's different, and Jocko even talked to me about it at Maker Central, but he was just like, I love this little logo. It's different. It's unique. It is so delightfully you. And these two little googly eyes that and you know what, we were even talking about it in the shack when Sophie and I were working on our stuff. We had you finish up the sign that she made for you, and that's not typically how the eyes are done, but you drew the eyes to whether they'll be looking down at you, because when they're going to be in frame in the shop, it will kind of direct. And so you can give this little ball of fuzz a personality just by moving its eyes around or playing with the color and putting a mohawk on it, right? Like, it's this unique little beautiful approach to your brand, and I love it. And well done.
Yeah.
Well done, sir.
Well done, sir. Well done.
To kind of go on from that a little bit. Like you said, like when Al did the Movember thing and just had a negative mustache in,
Yep.
like just little things like that, just still instantly recognizable, but has
But look at
relevance to what he's doing at the moment. And it's fucking brilliant. And the fact that like when you came down to the forward, there was a brush from a chimney sweep just lying around on the floor. And instantly Al went off and got a couple bits of like white foam, scrunched them up into eyeballs, sharpied on some pupils, stuck it onto this chimney brush, and all of a sudden that was Al's logo. That was, yeah, it could have been a soot sprite, but no, it was Al's logo.
I mean, anything's a logo if you're Al enough. Perfect, nailed it. All right, see you guys next week. Where can we find you?
So where can we find everyone? Al, where can everyone find you? Seeing as we were on your Instagram.
You'll find me back in the Hack Shack. Woohoo!
Woo! Oh, shack. So where's that? What?
That's it.
Okay.
Steve, where can we find you?
You can find me at Moonshine Metalworks on Instagram and Facebook, and also in the Fools with Tools group on Facebook. So go there.
Perfect.
Brett,
And
where can everyone find you?
You can find me, Skull and Spade 13, on Instagram and YouTube. Brett McAfee.
Oh
And
shit! Yeah, you
then-
can find me on YouTube as well.
Yeah, no one cares. And then I just want to make sure that everyone knows that you can find Jeremy Ash, High Voltage Woodworks, located in the north of England. He's got a beautiful logo now done by Al. This guy's going to be the next Spiffy for sure.
And you can find him at Turgworks on Instagram.
I believe so.
Tim, I love you, but that was completely unintentional. It's just you're always on my mind. That's all. And for us as a group, as a trio, as a bunch of fools, you can find us on Instagram at FWT Podcast, or you can find the website with all the shows and everything like that at www.fwtpodcast.com. Or if you go on to Facebook, there is a Facebook group called Fools with Tools. If you go on there, answer 3 questions or don't, and get a message asking you to answer the questions. And then if you still don't answer them, you get declined, because we've told you enough times now. So yeah, join the group, get involved, have fun. Everyone there is lovely. And I think that's it, isn't it? That's it.
That's it. That'll do me.
That's it. Cool.
In it.
Right, let's go give the guys from Maybe some shit.
We're sorry.
Woo! We're sorry. We're sorry.
Sorry, not sorry. Bye.
Bye.